Welcome to Ask the Experts. I'm Jill Schlesinger, editor-at-large of MoneyWatch.com, and I'm joined by...
Jack Otter, executive editor of MoneyWatch.com.
Now, Jack, what's going on with your phone today? You seem to be fighting with it a lot. Is there a problem?
It just doesn't work very well.
I don't understand that. You have a fancy phone.
It should be fancy. I think it tries to do too many things. It's a Motorola Droid. It tries to be your everything. And the old BlackBerry didn't do as much, but it did everything right.
Damn it. Did what it needed to do. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do what we need to do to get you back to school. How about that? Now, Jack, I'm going to bring in our guest for a second.
Great.
But do you still live your life on an academic calendar? Because I kind of do. I don't think of the new year is the beginning of the school year still for me, even though it's almost a year since I graduated from college.
Well, I started to drift away from that just a little bit, but then I had 2 children. So we're right back on it.
You're back on it, baby.
Yep.
All right. Well, a lot of kids back to school already. Which is horrifying.
I know.
Crazy. Like my cousin down in Florida, his kids are in school. They're in they're 5, 6 years old. That seems insane to me.
Whose brilliant idea was this? Yeah.
Bad idea. Very bad idea. So we have a really good idea today. We are bringing in a guest who knows so much about so many things financial. Kimberly Palmer. She is the author of Generation Earn, The Young Professional's Guide to Spending, Investing, and Giving Back. We have her video up by fabulous interview with her about her book, so go check that out on MoneyWatch.com. She's a senior editor and personal finance columnist for U.S. News and World Report. She writes the magazine column and daily blog Alpha Consumer, and she's written for The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, and the Asahi Shimbun International Herald Tribune in Tokyo. Now, Kimberly, what's back to school like in Tokyo?
Well, it's just like here. There's actually amazing shops there that have gorgeous notebooks. I got into that myself when I was there. So big emphasis on paper products.
And is there a lot of Hello Kitty? Because it seems to me that there's an obsession among the Japanese, especially Japanese girls and Hello Kitty. Where did that come from?
Yes, and adults too. It's not just young girls.
It's very strange. Okay. And so when we're talking about going back to school, we did a story recently, Kimberly, about a lot of back-to-school items being up 10 or 15%. Now, what advice do you have for parents who are looking to save money on the whole back-to-school shopping season? Is it all over? Are you done? You got to just do it, or what?
Well, no, there's so much you can do to save money. And actually this year, a lot of retailers are doing so many of their promotions and discounting on social networks. So if you know that you're going to shop at a certain store, you should friend them or fan them on Facebook, and that way you'll be the first to hear about all of their promotions. So that's one of the best things you can do.
Now, my girlfriend was just asking me about this because she said, now, once I sign up for this, is there going to be a deluge of emails for the rest of my life? Do you just unsubscribe after the season's over, Kimberly? Is that what you do?
Because that's the downside. If you friend or fan a company on Facebook, you'll be hearing from them all the time whenever they have a new announcement, a new product, and you might not want that. So usually I tell people only friend a company if you actually really like them and you want to hear all that, or of course you can unfriend them or unfan them at any time.
Now, do you think that that's a very sad thing? Like, what if you were the company? I was unfriended today. Jack, what do you think about this for the back to school season? Are you getting up in arms and getting little Jack ready for rocking and rolling here?
We are. We love hand-me-downs, but my wife's already been to Target and got some good stuff for my daughter. One of the keys, however, is to set up the separate email address so that you don't use it for anything but these specials that Kimberly's talking about. So if my wife gives you her Hotmail address, Jill, that means she's not too excited about you.
By the way, she uses that when she meets people in bars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you know that.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it's
I
her
wasn't aware
separate
of that.
other.
Okay.
So you might want to check it out sometime. Kimberly, we have a bunch of questions from MoneyWatch users, and a lot of them are about student loans, and we know that people are graduating so much in debt. Even you're so young, and I hate that about her, don't you, Jack?
Oh,
I despise that.
Used to like her.
I know.
Not
Even
anymore.
in the time since you graduated, those many years ago, are you hearing more stories about kids being more and more indebted at this point?
Yes, I mean, I hear stories about that all the time. And actually one of the biggest challenges and what I hear most often is that people don't even know where their student loans are. They're completely unorganized. They don't know how to consolidate them. They don't know even who exactly they're paying back, who they should talk to about them. So step number one is usually just getting all that clear in your own head. And usually schools can help you a lot with that, meeting with your financial aid office just to get organized. That's the first step.
Jack, one of our users, Alicia, wants to know, is there value in aggressively paying off student loan debt, or is it better to take the home mortgage approach, where you pay a lot of interest for the first several years, knowing that the interest is tax deductible, not all of it, I think, over the course of 15 years? Alicia says that she had a financial advisor tell her that she should stop paying the extra $500 a month towards the loans and put that money elsewhere. I'm going to guess that the financial advisor wants you to put the money with him or her into a loaded mutual fund.
You
Jack,
think?
what do you think about that as a possibility?
Well, you and I always talk about, we kind of caution people away from being in a rush to pay off their home mortgage because there might be more productive uses for that money. That's not my thinking on student loans. I say get the monkey off your back. Who knows what might change in Alicia's life in the next few years, the next few decades. Maybe she'll have children of her own and she'll have more expenses. If she's got $500 extra every month to pay off those loans, do it.
And Kimberly, are you down with that? You want to pay off those loans as quickly as possible?
Yes, I love the idea of paying off loans early. We did it ourselves. I mean, it just means that you can be free when you are ready to take on a mortgage, or like you're saying, the other responsibilities that quickly pile on with children. So getting those unloaded, especially the ones with the higher interest rates or variable interest rates, so important.
All right, let's see what Rebecca has. About $7,100 in student loans with interest rates ranging from 2.2% variable to 8% fixed. Rebecca works for the federal government. Her job security is good. Her FICO scores range from, get this, 732 to 768. She's got about $8,000 in savings. Rebecca wants to apply for a new credit card. She wants to do a balance transfer so that she can pay off all the student loans up to the credit card limit. Is this wise? Will this hurt my credit score? Don't answer, Kimberly. Jack is furrowing his eyebrow. He wants to jump in.
I don't see what the value is. First of all, 2.2%. If she can get a credit card that charges that, please get in touch with us because we're going to tell our readers about it. But even 8%, that would be an awfully good credit card rate. I see no virtue to doing that.
Yeah. I think that sounds completely ridiculous, actually, because, in one case, you're going into a situation where if something bad happens, your interest rate could pop up to 30%.
Sure.
So, your student loan's not going up that high. So what is the one thing about student loans that I think people do kind of forget is that these are pretty cheap interest rates.
Yeah.
And we are in a low interest rate environment. Kimberly, what if she wanted to consolidate everything into one loan? I mean, she's got some that are very low interest. Do you think it's worthwhile for her to investigate, now that interest rates really are at these kind of ridiculously rock bottom levels, a consolidation for everything just to fix it into one loan?
It's almost always worth looking into it. I mean, the fact is, when you consolidate, you often are going to pay something. So your interest rate may go up a teeny bit on average just to have that organization. For some people, that's worth it, just so they're not so scattered and so confused about where their loans are. But the question for her is, it's not clear. I mean, everyone should investigate because it's not clear what the outcome would be if consolidating is beneficial to her or not. Her 2% loans, that's very low. You're probably not going to get much lower than that, of course. But I mean, 8%, you should look into it for sure because you want to be minimizing your payments as much as possible.
What's the interest rate for a consolidated loan these days? Anyone know? 5-ish?
I don't know, actually, off the top of my head.
I think it's probably 5-ish.
Sounds right, yeah.
Okay, here's one from Liz. Liz recently graduated from a master's program, and she has a bunch of loans from the federal government, 7.6%, 6.7%, and she wants to know whether she could consolidate these and get a lower rate. She says the interest rates seem insanely high. I don't think they seem insanely high. That seems like
compared
reasonable.
Compared to a 4.5% mortgage is probably what is her framing, yeah.
So I think that basically our position is, Liz, go out and check out consolidated loans because you at least have to go through the process and see if it works for you. And 8%, sub 8% is fine. I'm sorry, everyone. Like, get over yourselves. I know it's a low interest rate environment, but, and by the way, when you go bankrupt, they don't release your student loans?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I was thinking with Alicia, we could tell her, yeah, go ahead and put it on a credit card and then go bankrupt.
Yeah, that's how you really bang them.
That's not particularly good advice.
That's so bad.
But I do have a question for Alicia. How can you tell between the slime ball consolidators and the ones who are actually going to help you out?
Well, isn't there like an official consolidator that we look at here? I mean, Kimberly, isn't there like basically one organization that's like a big time official consolidator of these loans?
Well, what I always recommend people to do is to talk with their financial aid office because that is usually the best source. They have people standing by to help you get on top of this. I mean, they don't want to see you default and they can point you towards the best resources. So for most people, that is the best step, the best resource.
All right, so financial aid office. Hey, Brandon writes he took out a large amount of student loans to finance graduate degrees, totaling, ready for this, $100,000. He graduated in 2006. Now, I have to say I love this next sentence. Now I'm working at a fantastic job and I'm making pretty good salary, but I'm struggling to make my student loan payments. I heard that if you stop making payments, The punishment can include the garnishing of up to 15% of your wages. Honestly, that sounds like a blessing. I'm currently paying 45% of my take-home pay to student loans. Aside from tarnishing my credit, what other punishments do I don't think you ever do that. I don't think you just stop paying.
Yeah.
Can you negotiate with these guys or not, Kimberly? Do you think you can actually, that Brandon's in a situation where he can go and say, look, I'm getting killed here. Is there some way to restructure the loan?
It's possible. The problem for him is that he's saying he's earning a good salary right now. I mean, a lender might look at him and say, you know, we helped get you where you want to be. You got the degree. Now you have the job that you want. So now you owe it. I mean, you're in a contract to pay that money back. So it's not clear how much leverage he would have. Of course, you might as well call and ask and negotiate. If you have a history of good payments, that's where you can use some leverage to get them to maybe even lower your interest rate for you a little bit, see what they can do. But I mean, it sounds like he's going to have to figure out a way to pay it back.
Yeah, I mean, and Megan, the producer extraordinaire, says, "What about isn't there a government program that says that that you only have to pay a certain percentage of your income?" I mean, it does seem crazy, 45%. That sounds like a New York City rent, for God's sakes. If you lived in New York and you had a student loan, what would you do?
Photosynthesize.
You would live with your mom.
Yeah.
That's what you would do.
Yeah.
I'd live with you.
Student loans have done a really bad thing. They have enabled these colleges to keep on raising prices at twice the rate of inflation
right,
for
if there
decades.
were no loans, people wouldn't be able to pay it.
Yeah, they would have had to rationalize it. It's I don't know where this is going to end, but it you know, what's the old expression? Something that can't continue doesn't. Somebody said it more eloquently than that, but
I like that one. It's
but
fine.
the point is, something's going to have to give here.
Jim wants to know what's the best option for additional cash over and above my current savings for my daughter and my son's college education. My daughter is a freshman. My son will be going to college in 2 years. That sounds horrible already. How far apart are your kids, Jack?
3 years.
Oh, so you have one crossover year.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, Jim says refinancing, maybe is it refinancing my mortgage with a cash out or a home equity loan or none of the above? Here's a situation. You ready? He's got a home that's worth $400,000 in New Jersey. He's got a $100,000 15-year fixed rate mortgage at 5%. He's got 9 years to pay, and he's got a current balance of $78,000. Okay, so I have an idea for this. I mean, so he originally had $100,000. He only has $78,000 left. Let's assume that Jim makes too much money to qualify for anything. Because I'm sensing that he's got cash flow.
Financial aid.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I would apply for financial aid anyway. But you know what? I would refi. I would refi that sucker to a 30-year. I'd get a 4% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I'd take out whatever it is, the next 2 years of college, and have that in the bank. And I'd have lower payments so I could actually stretch out my cash flow and help my kids out if I wanted to do that. If he really is like, I don't really care and I'm going to have the kids take the loans and that's the deal. But if you really want to pay for it, he can pay for a couple of years of college, depending on whether it's public or private. And I think that one of the problems with a 15-year rate is that everybody loves it. They're like, oh, get a 15-year. Well, why not just get a 30-year and have a better cash flow while you need your money? And then pay it down faster once the kids are out of school.
Got to pay it down faster. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's got college-age kids, and he's paid deeply into this mortgage.
Yeah.
So he's not young.
Right.
So he doesn't want to be paying off this mortgage for the next 30 years. So the plan has to include a way to get it paid off sooner. But yeah, I agree. Tap it a little bit.
I mean, for the next 5 years, he's got his daughter's a freshman, and his son is going to be in there in the next few years. I don't know. What do you think, Kimberly? You want to refi, or do you want to let the kids just gut it out themselves? Screw the kids. Kimberly wants them to get those loans and keep the parents' mortgage intact, don't you?
Well, I want to see if the kids have explored how they can earn money during college too to help at least cover their living costs, because I mean that is a source, an idea too, and not just his kids, but maybe even he can think of ways, depending on what his profession is, to multi-stream his own income, or if there's a way he can pick up extra income on the side. So that's an option too, looking at the income side.
Now, if he does do this cash out refi, does that gonna make it even harder for him to get any financial aid for the kids?
Oh yeah, I'm assuming that he can't get financial aid.
Okay,
because
yeah.
if he can get financial aid, he should apply right now. Right?
Before he does this, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. But if you really can't, I mean, a lot of people who make good income are just not going to qualify. He's got no other debt. I assume he's got other assets. I don't know whether it's funny because I'm wondering if he actually has other assets maybe. Would you rather refi or would you rather take a 401k loan?
Oh, refi.
You would?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
But one other point, people don't realize how high your income can go and still you qualify for financial aid. I mean, at Princeton, I think it's about 200 grand that a family can make. If you have 2 kids, might be a little higher.
Right.
So,
if you have 2 kids in at the same time, that one crossover year, for sure you've got to apply. But you got to start applying. You should apply anyway to for financial aid, even though it is a total pain in the neck. And those FAFSA forms are ridiculous. I think they should just take your blood. Let's do it at that. Okay, here we go. Christina writes, my husband and I just got out of graduate school. 2 grad school graduates. We have combined $80,000 in student loans. Got that? You ready for that, Kimberly? 80 G's. $4,000 in credit cards bills, credit card debt, 25 no new credit cards and no student loan, no car loans. Husband makes 40 grand. Children 2 and 4. By the way, she's a stay-at-home mother, so why'd she just get out of what'd she do that
I was
for?
wondering that. Yeah.
I mean, come on. So together, here's the deal: they make 50 grand. They have 80,000 bucks in debt. Kimberly, what should they do?
Number one, focus on the income side. I mean, if they both have graduate degrees, they should be able to raise their income. Maybe she can work more. Maybe he can do something else. I mean, it sounds like maybe he just isn't in a lucrative field, clearly. But if there's something he can do either on the side or just revamping his career a little bit, I mean, that's probably the biggest step they could take for their family.
Jack, what do you want to do? You want, personal
I think she
loan?
nailed it. She nailed it. With 2 graduate degrees, they've got to boost that income. I wonder if they are in academia.
That's what I was thinking.
Then maybe you say to the college, look, get us some faculty housing ASAP, and then you just devote pretty much all your income stream to paying off that 80 grand.
I mean, really, you go from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. So, make the minimum payments on the student loans, get rid of the credit card, the old bills.
Of course, yeah.
And yes, of course, you're going to have to once this is all said and done and you get things cleared up, if you want a credit card, you're probably going to have to get a secured credit card. You're not going to, no one's going to just hand you money if you have had some old credit card debt that's kicking around. But if you want to know how much you should set aside each month for savings, do it the other way. Tell me exactly what the absolute bare bones, absolute variable costs that you have to cover and fixed costs that you have to cover, and then every extra dollar is going into debt pay down. Like you are in crisis management mode for the next 3 years. You are going to get this thing paid down, or I guess you could rob a bank.
That's true.
There's that.
But that can end up getting really expensive in the long run.
True.
So, yeah.
It's very true. Before we go, just, kids are going to get to colleges. I remember getting to college and there was in the post office, at the Brown post office in the area, there's a big kiosk where credit card companies were sitting, signing people up for credit cards. Now, Kimberly, what is the best advice you can give when kids are barraged with offers for credit cards? What should they be thinking? What should the parents be thinking? And has the Card Act really protected people in this next phase?
Yes, well, that's the first thing to know. It's going to be different now. I mean, it is already different now because of the Card Act, and also just because of a lot of the negative publicity that surrounded credit card companies and they're handing out T-shirts in exchange for credit cards. So it is you're not going to have that same barrage, here's a free T-shirt, sign up for a credit card. But at the same time, I mean, you need to be ready. You will get offers, and maybe you should take out a credit card. Credit cards aren't terrible for everybody, and it can be a way to build your credit if you're paying it off each month. But that's my main advice, to pay off your credit card bill each month.
And Jack, what do you want to? You want to tell people just say no to the credit card?
Yeah, I would say treat these things like very dangerous objects that maybe they have a place in your wallet, but you barely ever touch it. I mean, really, cash flow is such in college that a credit card can really only do harm and it can't really help you. Have it there in case you need to rent that car in an emergency or pay for something in an emergency. But otherwise, a debit card, take the Dan Cadillac approach. You set the budget for a month or a quarter, semester, whatever. You have a debit card and then you slowly draw it down and make sure you have enough runway to get you through the semester. And that's how it ought to work.
I think that if parents are also really like, oh my God, I had to send my baby away with a card, then I would do a prepaid card and say it's over when it's over,
yeah.
Just be done with it. And also, of course, get the statements, because at that point when I was running up some credit card bills in college and my father was wondering exactly, aren't you on a meal plan? Why are you going out to dinner? Which is a very good question to ask your college-age student. I learned that by September 20th. So that was my first thing to remember. Kimberly Palmer, I can't thank you enough for joining us, as always. This is like our stealth back-to-school version. You can find Kimberly Palmer on her blog, Alpha Consumer, U.S. News and World Report. And if you want to go and give your new graduate a great book, how about giving them Generation Earn. It's Kimberly's book, The Young Professional's Guide to Spending, Investing, and Giving Back. Wow, you want them to give back too?
Yes, we want to give back early, definitely.
All right. And Jack Otter, I think as you get ready for your back-to-school season, I wish you the very best of luck. I'm sure that, what grades are they in now?
We've got one going to third grade and another one going into what they call the fours. It's sort of pre-kindergarten.
Pre-kindergarten.
Nursery school type
So
thing.
I'm pretty sure he's going to ace that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's good.
He's at soccer camp today. He's got early sports right now.
I don't even think they're, come on, he can barely walk. He's in soccer camp.
Barely walk. Are you kidding me?
He walks with the best
That's
of them, for
right.
God's sakes.
You know what? We've got to do, can we do some quick breaking news here? Kimberly,
sure.
U.S. News, I bet she lives in Washington. Is that where you're coming to us from?
Yeah.
So did those books behind you, they fall off the shelf yesterday?
I'm just messy. Yeah.
No. That wasn't where I was going with
She's
this.
saying
I mean,
the
in the
earthquake.
earthquake.
Did you have fun in the earthquake yesterday?
It was terrifying.
Really?
Really scared. This whole place was shaking.
Wow.
So,
And Jack, were you scared?
I didn't feel a thing.
No way.
Not till
Really?
the man came on over the intercom and he said, "The building has not collapsed."
Well, that was good
And
to
we
know.
all looked at each other and thought, we already knew that, and why is he telling us this?
Yes, I was driving in the streets of New York City, so therefore it was no different. It
Yeah.
was actually
Shake, rattle, and roll
felt,
all the
felt a little
time.
bit better than what I normally feel like. If you've got some questions about back to school, keep yourself tuned to MoneyWatch.com because we've got lots of stuff out there, lots of great segments, a lot of tips for you and for your college-age students, for your high school-age students, and by the way, we even take care of your retirement. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Jill Schlesinger.
I'm Jack Otter.
She's Kimberly Palmer, and she won't be back next week, but we will be here on Ask the Experts. Thanks for watching.
Too much monkey business for me to be involved. Same thing every day, getting up, going to school. No need of me complaining, my objections overrule. Too much monkey.